Take your shoes off, but not if you're driving. Turn up the volume. This is a Raconteur collection. My name is Charlie, and this is Jack.
Hello.
The Raconteur collection is all about stories, ideas, and really whatever the hell fits into an hour, give or take. Jack, how was your week?
Pretty good week. And sorry, I took a sip of coffee, and then in my head I was like, "Oh no, I'm about to be introduced."
I have to say, spit it out. Really good.
Coughing and it's been a good week. Very productive. Obviously, we got our little first test episode of the podcast go out. I've been cooking a lot more from home,
and ties into the episode.
We've been doing a lot more budgeting, sticking to the budget.
Nice.
We deep cleaned most of the apartment, which is super nice. And today we actually went on like a hike, like a little smaller like nature hike. We drove about 25 miles out. Yeah, that's what we were doing today.
Oh my gosh.
Where'd we go? We went to Bears Glen.
Bears Glen.
That's what it's called.
I don't think I've ever been there.
I think it's very Robbers Cave-esque, honestly.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Very cool. We'll have to go there sometime. How was your weekend? Week.
Weekend. Dang it. Start it over.
No.
My week's been pretty good. I've been adjusting from the night shift I've been on to the early morning shift. So I've been having to wake up at like 5 in the morning. Which
have you been enjoying that more? Or?
So it's been hard just to like, especially on my days off going into a day working. Like tonight I have to go to bed by like 9:30 so I can be up by like 5:30. But my brain is definitely not like ready to go to sleep at that time. But other than that, it's been pretty easy just adjusting to that, just keeping up with my daily writing, routine of cleaning the kitchen, also doing some cooking for myself. So
cooking.
But yeah, I mean that's been about my week. It's been I always feel kind of bad because I don't feel like I ever have specific stories to talk about. But I guess for me, a lot of my important time comes from being an introvert and just spending a lot of my time recharging from my very extroverted job.
Yeah, I mean, and think about it, like, we're like COVID's still a thing, so it's kind of hard to go out and do like a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah, because I used to do a lot of stuff before COVID too. Anyways,
same. We're
gonna go ahead and delve into this episode's topic. A topic long awaited, long requested, I would say. That topic
I would say so too.
Is cooking.
The
general idea is we're going to kind of trace not only meals we have cooked, but what was cooked for us as kids. Jack and I being brothers, growing up in the same house, we had a lot of home cooked meals from our mom. Of course, our dad cooked meals. And it's kind of interesting thinking about how they went back and forth between their meals, which I think is a really great place to start. So I'm going to really first talk about the meals I remember mom making versus the meals I remember dad making. So
yeah.
I have to first give a lot of props to our mom who, I mean, like, with the amount of kids, so she has 6 kids. Me, I'm the eldest. Jack is, second in line. 4 more beneath us.
Yeah, second line, they get food too, so.
But of our mom just coming up with so many different meals. I mean, especially as I've been cooking for myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna make? Like, can you imagine having to cook for 6 other kids?
A total of 8 people in the house.
Total of 8 people.
Kids
who were picky.
She knew a lot of the recipes from memory, but like she had and has a really old like cookbook, with all like the yellowed pages and her little like she's written all this stuff down in there. It's interesting if you ever look at it.
Little scraps and stuff. Yeah, I remember, so I'll call out specifically, which I'm sure everybody can say this about their mom, but our mom's chili. Delicious. It's a recipe that I still use to this day. Super simple.
You spice it up a little bit.
I do spice it up. I do like spicier things, which is funny because, our mom likes spicier things too, but having so many kids that didn't like spicy things, I don't think she made them as spicy. So she'd always be adding like Tabasco sauce to her meals.
That was a must have.
Yeah. So mom's chili. And then our dad, we never really had a grill. So I feel like our dad specialized in like breakfast foods, and I really remember our dad's omelets. Like he'd come in and he'd be like, "Gosh, what do you want on your omelet?" And it would be like everything.
We're not even awake yet. He'll wake us up to that question.
It'd be like a mismatch of just like anything that he could find in the kitchen, and they were always delicious. Like he just had this art to them that were like you eat them fluffy, the perfect level of like. I was trying to think of something other than salt, but the perfect level of like saltiness. Oh, they were always so
pepper, good. Veggies if you wanted them, meats if you wanted them.
Jack's like, I never eat veggies. Feta cheese. Oh,
feta cheese.
Olives. Things that Jack doesn't like. So Jack, what meals do you remember mom making and dad making? And you can kind of wrap it up into anything else you remember about, especially those early days.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like mom's chili is a highlight one, and the cornbread she would make with it, super good. Like I remember loving that a lot. She didn't make it a lot, but do you remember her making her lembas bread?
Lembas, yeah, I do remember the lembas bread.
Super, super good. It was usually around, I want to say, like Thanksgiving-ish time.
Yeah. Do you want to clarify what the lembas bread actually was? So people don't think it's literally the Lord of the Rings food.
No, so
yellowfish bread.
If I have to describe it accurately, it was kind of like, somewhat accurately, it was kind of like a fluffy biscuit, basically. Mm-hmm. Very much like just a really well done homemade biscuit. Yeah, but like very. It's not like it's not a breakfast biscuit though. It's like, I don't know. I have to find the recipe.
Yeah, no.
I made it once too, and I didn't make it as good. But it's still freaking good.
No, yeah, it was basically like I guess it was kind of a biscuit, a little bit crispier than like a biscuit, but still kind of tender on the inside, a little chewy.
Yeah.
Definitely on like the saltier side, like not like a sweet biscuit, like because we put butter on the top of it.
Butter or honey, or you could pair it with, with chili, or like with any, like kind of like anything you had at the dining table, basically. Exactly.
An all-purpose bread, yeah.
Ranch. I'm kidding. I never put ranch on it. But I mean, if I have to really top it off, like mom's homemade pizzas.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which, I mean, super plain, super simple, but
so
like
good,
you could do anything you want with them. Mm-hmm. Any ingredients on top, you could put any sauce on them. Mm-hmm. It was so unique because she'd make them in her like the large flat, the pans,
the baking trays,
the baking trays, making large flat baking trays, and just cut out the squares, not triangles, like the square homemade. That's one of my favorite things that she would make. And with Dad, breakfast is obviously up there, but he would also make, when we did have a grill sometimes, he would make, he was all about breakfast. Like you said, all about breakfast. So sausages, bacon, omelets, oatmeal, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. He'd come in the morning. Jack, you want some hot chocolate? You want some coffee? Just being that kind of wake up in the morning. Like when you woke up, like Tom Petty's playing, and you smell like, you hear like the, I'm like, it's a good morning. It's a good morning.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like before we kind of get into our next question, there are so many things we could bring up. Our mom's coffee cake, our mom's cookies. Our mom used to make this chocolate chip banana bread. She used to make these peanut butter oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. Like I could go on and on about how many delicious things that she made are the traditional like chocolate birthday cake that she still makes, that I had just a couple weeks ago. Like things that are so delicious still. And I'm like, And I guess what gets me is that she does it all with like seemingly ease. I'm sure it wasn't easy all the time, like especially growing up and like getting older. But like she's always like, "Oh yeah, just whip this together," and you're like, "What's this delicious meal? This white chicken chili?"
I mean, I never saw her look at a recipe really, like unless it's something she really didn't make very often. But, like it's all from memory, which is
that's definitely been an inspiration for me, and that's actually how I cook now. So kind of with a little bit of a history, of course, I feel like we could have a whole episode about the meals we used to have. But Jack, what was the first meal that you tried to make? It can either be the first meal you were guided through or the first meal you try to make on your own. Dealer's choice.
So I'm really struggling to think of one here other than the time I first tried to make. I believe it was the first time I tried to make like just eggs, scrambled eggs.
Okay.
I think I was
walk me through the process.
5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And so I remember waking up and I think I was feeling really good about the day. Okay. I had on a nice little sweater. I'd comb my hair over because it was picture day at school.
Oh, okay.
You know, and so I was like, I'm feeling good. Like I can do this. And so I'm not quite tall enough to like be working with the oven.
Yeah.
But I was like, Mom, I can make my eggs this morning. And I threw my mom was like, it'll be fine. If he needs help, he'll ask for help. Me being stubborn, didn't ask for help. Right. So I'm up there, I cracked the eggs on there. And I don't know what happened, but I remember knocking the skillet off the oven somehow. I might have either pulled it down or not, like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
And it fell onto my foot and just like burned my foot. And that hurt. I think I also burned my hand trying to move it off too, my thumb.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I think that was the day that I had this ice pack on my hand, and then, all right, Jack, we're taking your photo. Took the ice pack off, snapped the photo.
Slightly pained smile.
So I mean, I believe that's how it went. Other than that, I mean, most of it's like simple breakfast items. I feel like is what I started trying to help make. Mm-hmm. I don't remember like other than like noodles, maybe what I did for lunch or dinner. So as a kid, it'd have to be like the scrambled egg that scarred me from scrambled eggs for a couple of years.
That's good. That's good.
And what about you? What was the first thing you made or tried to make and failed?
Thinking about it, I don't really remember like something that early. I think I helped my mom a lot, especially around like that early age. Mm-hmm. I do remember in middle school, because I was homeschooled in middle school, taught by my mom, taught math by our grandma. I do remember one recipe, like an easy recipe my mom always used to do, which is like baking frozen chicken breasts. So I remember I would do that a lot for myself. And then the first thing I really remember making on my own was mom's Reuben recipe. Some rye bread, corned beef.
You did make that a lot.
Sauerkraut, Thousand Island dressing, Swiss cheese. Butter sides of the bread. You get it all fried. That's something I still make today, and something that I think really informed me that it broke kind of that flavor mold of, I don't know, Midwest America, where it was slightly different. I mean, anybody who's had a Reuben is not going to be like, oh man, the Reuben is the height of taste and culinary culture. But for like a kid, like having like the sauerkraut and like the dressing and like just those different tastes really broke me out of that. And I can tell you now that like I've made so many different like types of Reubens. I'm like, oh, this will probably go good together just because of that knowledge.
It's like a smorgasbord of, flavors you either know kind of go well together and you're like, I'm going to piece it together. Or you're like, oh, I feel like something a bit different. Or you kind of spice it together with what you have. So, you know.
And I mean, now I will say that I don't think I've made a Reuben as good of mom's, like, and it could be that thing of where it's like, food being made for you is always going to taste better. But I don't think I've made a Reuben as good as mom's. Like, that's still the goal.
A Reuben as good as mom's.
I know I made those the aforementioned, peanut butter oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. Oh, those are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember just eating those.
Yeah,
8 cookies.
Taste is fine. I just there's something about the texture. I can't do it.
I've never understood that.
But I love oatmeal. I love chocolate chip cookies, the homemade ones.
Yeah.
I do not like peanut butter chocolate chip cookies with oatmeal.
Right.
I don't like those. I just don't.
Okay. So the only thing I can bring this up, and so I have to go a little bit back. So when I first was, I don't know, eating lunch meat, I used to just take lunch meat like out of the container and eat it by itself, right?
Yeah,
so
who hasn't?
Who hasn't? Who? I remember I ate some roast beef, and I remember I was out on our swing set, swinging back and forth, popped a piece of roast beef in my mouth, and I like chewed on. So I chewed on like the fatty bit of the roast beef, and it for some reason it just triggered my gag reflex, and I stopped dead in the tracks and just threw up on the ground. No. Ever since then, literally even to this day, if I eat like a fatty bit of chicken, a fatty bit of steak, it still triggers like that. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can eat this bite. Like I can't do it. And it's funny because like my girlfriend will, she can eat the fatty bits like no problem. Like it doesn't bother her. But like that texture, I guess that's the only thing I could compare it to is like I can't do it. Like you get Chipotle, get some steak in there. There's a little bit of a fatty, chewy bit of steak. I'm like, I don't know if I can keep eating this bite in my mouth. And honestly, Jack, I usually will pull up a napkin, spit it into the napkin, spit all the food out, and throw it away. Yeah. And keep eating.
You see, I think there's not a lot that makes me gag when it comes to food. I think part of it's just like, I don't know, like it just not a lot bothers me.
Right.
Really. So I'm chewing some fat. I'm like, I'll chew on it for a minute. This is not getting chewed really into a napkin. He'll throw it away.
Right.
But I don't really gag to anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like the last food I gagged to. I mean, I can't.
It sounds weird when you say it like that. The last food I gagged to. The last food I gagged on.
I mean.
Stop making the sound effect. Why are you making the sound effect?
I didn't make a sound effect.
Oh, it sounded like you went.
Oh, maybe I did on just,
I think you did.
Instinct, but I also moved my cup at the same time. But I think I can't stand the taste of kombucha.
Huh. Okay.
Doesn't make me gag, but I'm like,
uncultured son of a bitch. Anyways, next question. I'm sorry. So going into our favorite meals, we've kind of talked about this, but favorite meals as a kid, fast food that we had, school lunches. It's funny because growing up, fast food was always kind of a treat for us. And I remember it would be like we're going to Brahms. And for those who don't know, Brahms is like a restaurant.
Dude, a bag of burgers.
The bag of burgers. Brahms is kind of like,
I don't want to cook tonight.
I don't know how I describe Brahms for somebody who's never been it, because it's not quite like McDonald's. It's maybe closer to like Carl's Jr. Or like, I'm trying to compare it to more of like a big fast food chain. Anyways, it's just a burger and ice cream place. And get there, they have the
more notably ice cream, I'd say.
Yes, they have like a crinkle waffle cut fries. We would maybe get a chocolate shake. It's so funny. I remember before I actually developed taste and enjoyed food, I would just eat a hamburger with just ketchup on it, which I know I'll let you talk in a second, Jack. But nowadays it's like, no, I pile on my hamburger with everything on it. You throw some lettuce on there, you throw some pickles, you get a little bit of ketchup, some mustard on there, you get some onion. You could put anything on there, and I would probably be like, yeah, that's good. But anyways, do you still eat your hamburgers plain without like any type of toppings on them?
So I enjoy my hamburgers with
throw some cheese.
Yeah, just throw some cheese and some ketchup on there, and I'm happy with it. because I guess the thing is like to me like a burger is unless it's homemade is very like, you know, you're just eating some food. It's just sustenance, you know. It's like no big deal. No burger is really that good unless you have a good home cooked burger, I think.
Oh man!
So when you get a burger home, I'll put some tomatoes, some lettuce on there. But
no way, you put tomatoes and lettuce on there?
Yes.
Okay.
Nowadays.
Okay.
Like talking like the past like 3 years. Yeah.
Press 3 years one time. Didn't eat the whole thing.
You know, but gotta go back to that home cooking. I think my favorite meal as a kid was mom's homemade pizzas. Mm-hmm. Every time I had way too many slices of that. Mm-hmm. You know, but that's where I developed my passion for ranch. So,
you know, I just recently
ranch and homemade pizza.
I just recently made my own homemade ranch. It was really good. I made like 2 jars of it. It was delicious.
you can start selling that?
I mean, it's not
a sticker on there.
I don't think it's worth selling. It's just ranch, but I wanted to like make my own because I'm trying to be a little bit more conscientious about what I actually eat and, you know, what I'm putting into my body. Yeah, I say that kind of half-heartedly because it's just like it's one of those things that I feel like I have to do, and that like I definitely am not a teenager anymore and can't just eat anything. Like I've always kind of been a big guy, but I've just noticed, especially like when I eat like healthier food, like I do feel better, and so that's something I've been trying to kind of follow.
Well, and I mean another thing is like you always have kind of been a big guy, but you're also like 6'3", so I mean it's not. True.
I hold it very well.
You're always going to be a big guy.
Got those slender thighs.
I'm just gonna throw in some actual I'm gonna throw in some actual numbers. I'm 6'1". I'm 230 right now.
Okay.
I carry it pretty well.
Yeah, because I mean you look pretty trim. You've always taken more for our mom's side though with that.
I watched the house video that me and Jack Henry made a long time ago.
Yeah.
And dude, I was thin in that video. Mm-hmm. I've thickened up a bit since then.
Thickened up.
But going back.
So
mom's pizza. Fast food. You got a favorite fast food?
A favorite fast food? I mean, honestly, all fast food is kind of good. Dollars for donuts.
Kind of good rate.
I think like McDonald's is always good. Like gotta hand it to McDonald's. Like I think they're doing something right there. But I don't get fast food that often. Like when I do like order, I'll usually just like DoorDash from like a restaurant or something and make more of a night out of it. Like, oh hey, we're ordering something out rather than like a thing we do all the time. Because for a while there, I used to be really bad about like ordering food all the time.
You and me both, brother.
So what about school lunches? What do you remember from school lunches?
Well, I'm just gonna real quick say my favorite fast food place is Cane's, but we don't really. I'm on day like 14 of no fast food, so
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. But school lunch, I gotta be honest with you, nothing sticks out because for most of like the elementary school, you just kind of had elementary school food, which is kind of garbage.
I remember the chocolate milk.
Yeah, they had strawberry milk and vanilla milk sometimes.
Strawberry milk is disgusting. I'm sorry, whoever likes strawberry milk, but like strawberry milk is
vanilla milk is worse. Vanilla milk is actually worse.
Yeah, they're both bad. Strawberry milk is just gross.
I mean, and then for like a lot of high school, I just got stuff from the vending machines. You know, like I didn't really eat lunch that often.
Our high school was kind of interesting because we had like a little snack thing. We went to a charter school that was like in an office building. And well, how long did you go to the one that was in the office building?
I was in the office building for 3 years.
Okay, so for most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, we had this little like a snack hut that sold like candy bars and like, you know, I don't know, different sodas and stuff. And then they would like order in like pizza. I remember they had like like Taco Bueno or something.
Yeah, like Taco Bueno, pizza, and a good amount of like local places as well. I think either every Thursday or Friday, they kind of order from somewhere.
Right. And then you would buy these punch cards, like these $25 punch cards, and everything costs you something. And so when you'd pay for something, you just like hand them your punch card. They would punch it. And I used to be really bad about getting candy bars, which is probably why I don't have much of a sweet tooth now. Like, I remember I used to eat like, I would be.
Which is probably why I'm so fat now. I mean,
right. I mean, I would go get like a candy bar, but that seems so crazy to me now. They had like the little Starbucks bottled Frappuccino things. Really anything.
They kind of had a lot of stuff that specifically on packages said not for resale, but you know.
Yeah, they did. They did have a lot of those things.
I got fruit snacks a lot, Cheez-Its a lot, and Gardettos a lot.
Gardettos. I don't understand Gardettos. I don't think they're bad, but like people were like, "Bad Gardettos."
There's like two of them in there. I think like I like two of the things that are in there, and the rest of it I was like, whatever. Someone else can have this garbage. But
so, you have anything else to add about like school lunches, fast food, or like favorite meals?
I mean, not really. I mean, the most memorable is obviously favorite meals from when we were kids.
Yeah,
I mean, fast food. School lunches, like I said,
not very memorable.
Nothing really sticks out.
Yeah,
nothing sticks out.
So I'll let you take off this next question, and this ties a little bit into, you know, high school and stuff, but, changes from being a kid and not having any type of money at all, and then to being a teenager and having a little bit of money. For a little bit of context, we lived right behind, Target and Reese's. And we could literally jump our back fence and walk back behind the store and around. And so we often would just walk to Target and Reese's and get stuff there. And I know that's kind of like a big change because I can definitely think of some things I want to mention. But why don't you go ahead and take it off?
Yeah, so, you know, obviously when we were kids, had a lot of home cooking. Sometimes we'd get, you know, pizza. Like, really, it was sometimes. And then... sometimes like just fast food, you know, not really McDonald's. It was a lot of Brahms. Was like what we would order out, like we get food from. We did not like get McDonald's very often. Like that was, I don't think we got it very much as kids, honestly.
McDonald's right in
the stall. Then we turned teens, like and I got a bit of money because I started working at Skateland for a little while, and so I had some money. It's horrible. I would go to Target, and there's a point where I basically went through almost every like Little Debbie snack. Like for a week, almost every other day it was zebra cakes. And then I was like, I never want to have them again. Oh, like the crunch cookie.
I remember that. Yeah.
Again. Nutty bars. Nutty bars stayed for a while. Never wanted them again. Every now and then I have a slight craving for. Sorry, my screen on the computer blacked out, and I was like, "What happened?" And then I was like, "Oh, just I haven't touched it for a while."
No. That's pretty good. Hire me.
That was very good. Did you do that line?
Did you do that?
And I bought a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
Then that's about it. Junk food, snack food. And so obviously there's the home cooking for a while, but then there's also that little introduction of garbage, you know, because I was a teenager who didn't know how to spend money.
So. Right. So.
Here's some gloves from the store.
Right.
Oh, here's an airsoft gun. Garbage.
Right.
Oh, here's whatever. So, go ahead.
So for me, and I'm gonna set the scene a little bit. So we used to have one of our cousins over to stay the night relatively often. So this is I'm really bad with years. So this is back in. The day when Fallout 3 was coming out, when Dead Space came out. We actually had... a big Fallout cutout of like a guy in power armor.
I remember that because I was grounded.
So I remember we used to buy a lot of the wintergreen Lifesaver mints. We used to buy a lot of Monster. That was like the first energy drink for us, is like a lot of Monster.
I drank it only at night.
I remember, especially at Reese's, like a local grocery store, they had the glass bottles of Sobe. And for the longest time, they would sell those. They were like $1.25, so they were pretty cheap. They would sell those, and
they were actually very cheap.
And we would get them, and I had this huge collection of like all these different flavors. And I remember I love Sobe, and it's one of those things that I kind of remember fondly. I'm like, wow, I really wish I like still had those bottles or just the labels or something. But yeah, so the mints, Monsters, Sobe.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
I just looked it up. Buying sea salt and vinegar chips, just junk and snack food. And I remember all that very fondly, like, sitting down to play Dead Space until 2 a.m, drinking Monsters, popping mints like they're actual candy. Oh my god, it's just things like that.
I don't know why. That was just our thing.
And we didn't always have like a stable internet connection at our house, so we would like sometimes connect our PlayStation 3's internet to like the Target Wi-Fi. And we had this weird curse about spilling things. Like I remember, like our parents were probably playing like a Michael Bublé song, or Michael Bubble, as he's actually known, and we would like spill something, or like, we're like the curse is happening. But God, yeah, I remember all that like very fondly as like the moment where I gained that little bit of like independence and like could actually get things I wanted to get. None of the things that were actually good for me.
Of course.
But yeah, I think that's kind of what I had to add to that, is just, those wintergreen mints. I got them recently, and I like had some, and I was like, these are so sweet. Like I don't remember them being this sweet. Thought the same thing when I had some Sprite. Got some Sprite, and I was like, God, was Sprite always this sweet?
Yeah, it's after you don't have like that much processed sugar for a long time and you have it again suddenly, it is very much almost like a shock. You're like, wow. Like I had Dr. Pepper, and I was like, oh my gosh. But like Dr. Pepper is like still super good in my opinion, but like less sugar than Pepsi and Coca-Cola. But
is that true?
It is. I think so. I'm pretty sure it's true. Do not quote me on that until I look it up personally. But that's yeah,
because like nowadays for me it's like Diet Coke and then a lot of LaCroix. I love LaCroix, man. That's some I drink all the time. LaCroix. So for our next I guess topic on cooking, I have kind of like a whole bunch of different things. I have cooking for ourselves as we got older into being adults. For me,
college is not spelled correctly.
Oh no, I know I wouldn't spell it correctly. I was just typing this out really quickly. For me, my college days, cooking there, first grocery store trip is something I definitely want to go into. Failed meals, successful meals, challenges we faced, and then inspirations we found while cooking for ourselves. To kind of kick it off,
which it's a lot to talk about, but
we can kind of
you're gonna kick it off.
Yeah, it's gonna kind of be piecemeal. We don't have to hit on every single one of those, but just as a general jumping off point. So in college, I didn't have a car. And so grocery trips were like these big hauls, like, once every 2 weeks. And I didn't really know how to cook for myself. And so I did a lot of simple things. I did do chili. I did a lot of like pre-made, like, I don't know, like little breakfast meals, like sausages, and I did a lot of fried rice. Like I remember cooking rice a lot. And that's also because I was broke. Like I was, working part-time, going to school, and I was just broke. And most of the time I would kind of subsist on ordering Jimmy John's delivery. It's a sandwich place. And I would get a big sandwich. I would get 2 bags of sea salt and vinegar chips. And that would literally be my meal all day.
for the day.
Yeah, for the day. Where I worked, I got like free food and meals, so that did definitely help. But oftentimes it was, just that. And then when I moved into my next apartment, my roommate, who I would love to have on a show sometime, but he cooked a lot more. Like, he was way more into actually cooking. Like, he did his own chili, and he made his own spices, and he cut his own things, and he made. I remember he used to do curry a lot, and I think it was like prepackaged stuff, but like he did like chicken curry and.
Yeah, he'd spice it up.
But. He made some good stuff. I remember I got countless, tabletop sessions of where we would literally go for like 6-7 hours, and it would be like, oh, hey, we would hang out for like an hour, game for 2.5 hours, make dinner, chill, game some more until late in the night, and then I would go straight to work. We'd end at like 2:00, and then I would go straight to work at 5:00. I don't know how I did that on like a regular schedule so much.
Yeah, I understand. When you're younger,
I know
it is easier.
It's crazy.
It hits you like a brick. There's just the one time you do it and you're like, I can't do it anymore.
I know. It's crazy. But something I do want to bring up, a weird thing that I still to this day have like an unnatural amount of fear over. So I'm always scared of, after going to the grocery store, you get all your nice food. You're like, I'm so happy. I'll have food at home. Load it all in the trunk. You're driving home. Do you know what my fear is? My fear is that someone's going to rear end the car. And of course, it's going to do damage to the car, but it's also going to like destroy all of the groceries in the back. I don't know why I worry about that so much, but I literally, every time I'm packing groceries into the trunk and I'm driving away, I'm like, what if someone rear ends the car and like splats everything? And it's just like, I know it's like, there's so many other things to worry about if someone were to rear end your car, but specifically, I'm like so worried about somebody running into the
as you're being rear-ended. My groceries. Cars flipping.
No.
Milk jug goes flying.
So, what about you? What do you remember about your first grocery trips?
I mean, so
really,
I
like
really do a lot of grocery shop.
Sorry, like your beginning of like just cooking meals.
Yeah, so I didn't do like a lot of like big cooking for a long time. I remember my first apartment, we lived right by a Walmart, so we made a lot of really small grocery trips. So like we hardly did big trips.
That sounds nice.
We used to do many small ones throughout like the week. Yeah, it was super nice. But also it kind of sucks because it puts you in this mindset where you're like, oh, well, it's right there, so I don't really need to prep for anything. So you kind of spend more money than you should.
Right.
I don't really remember what we would make there. I think I remember making rice sometimes, but I mean, for a while, rice was real intimidating because it's one of those things that you can mess up really easily, but once you got it, you got it.
Yeah.
It's just also just like a lot of pizza and fast food, just because
it's easy.
It's actually it's easy. At the time, it was for us. It seemed cheaper. And then I will say, at the second place I lived at, we did one big grocery trip, and that it was like we spent like $250 on groceries.
Yeah.
And that was like huge.
Yeah.
Like that. I was like, this is like a mom shopping trip. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But we stocked up, and you used a lot of it, and then, but towards the end of that is, that was with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and so towards the end of that, it ended up just being me at that apartment.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of money. I was working the cleaning job. Didn't have a ton of money at the time. So I was like, well, I'm just going to try to make do. So I had rice and what else did I have? I had rice and something else. So that's all I made. Like that's all I was eating for like about a week or two.
Yeah.
And then occasionally what I get from like my parents' house because I'd go down there sometimes.
Right.
But that was a bad time because I was not eating a lot, and that was like hard for me.
Yeah,
I was like getting like I was super like that's when I was like super skinny.
Yeah, I mean
that's like
that's very similar to my college days. Like when you don't. It's funny because I remember the first grocery trips I took living in my first apartment. and I would get way too much food because I was just used to the amount of food we would get for, our family.
Yeah.
And it would always be so weird because I'm like, wow, this food is going bad. And not really making that connection
that was
of like
a revelation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not making that connection of like, wait, no, I don't need to get a whole gallon of milk. I don't need to get, the big box of snacks. Like I remember specifically with Pop-Tarts, I got like the big thing of Pop-Tarts, and I had like Pop-Tarts for 2 weeks, and I was like, it was just weird to me that I'd open the cabinet, and I'm like, oh, I can have Pop-Tarts anytime, and they're gonna be there. Because in our house, it was always like a scramble. Mm-hmm. It was like you get one pack of Pop-Tarts, and then you would be lucky.
Oh, you didn't wake up early enough. You'd be lucky. Wake up in the house. Sorry, you missed out on the second pot of coffee that was made.
Right. So yeah, I definitely relate to that. What about when so like now, like what is your like meals look like now that you have a little bit more of a stable life and you're a little bit, you've had years to kind of like know how to like prepare and take care of yourself.
And so when you and I were living together, I would cook a lot of potatoes. I cook a lot of potatoes, a lot of like breakfasty kind of foods, and some chicken. That's what I cook a lot of. Mm-hmm. But then my current girlfriend Laura, she'll do most of the cooking. Nowadays, it's kind of half and half. Like, and I'm steaming broccoli, steaming cauliflower, making rice, chicken. I'm actually like getting into like, baking chicken a lot, but like also like making like my own marinades. Like I looked up a couple like online, made those, and now I'm kind of like, I'm gonna wing it, just kind of like make my own, see what I like, what don't I like. But like I made one last night. It was like a honey based kind of marinade, but I added a bit too much soy sauce to it. So next time, just cut back on the soy sauce, and that kind of stuff. And so I'm getting really into just a lot of just making everything from scratch because it's really gratifying. And once you get into like the habit of it, it's really not hard to keep up with keeping things clean, doing the dishes, and all that kind of stuff. Like it's not hard. It just takes a bit of extra time, and I've been making...
Disclaimer, not hard when you're like cooking for yourself and maybe like one or two other people.
Yeah, it is harder when you're cooking for like a big family.
And they're using
they
use
don't
two
have much
separate plates. I totally understand why our mom started buying paper plates because with the amount of plates we would use, it's like, why would we use actual plates?
And then I've been making some homemade pizza dough. Nice. Doing that and making pizzas. I've been like doing some more bacon, like baking. Made some cookies the other day, some peanut butter cookies. Asked our sister for a recipe. So been just being a lot healthier recently. So
yeah,
and I feel good, and I don't crave like fast food and stuff like that. I really do feel like I'm kind of growing up as far as like what my tastes are and stuff like that. Because I'm loving vegetables now. I'm eating them all the time, and cooking. Not really drinking any soda, so like, it's been good. And I want to get better at, I like the whole process of making dough, and so making breads and all that kind of stuff. I think is something I'd really enjoy getting into. And Mom actually just gave us the old mixer she had, so that nice. Opens up some doors.
Yeah,
so. I'm looking towards that. And so I watch a lot of Binging with Babish, and Gordon Ramsay. Those are kind of my two inspirations, really.
Definitely.
So, yeah. And so what about you? Like, what have you been cooking? What have you been eating?
Cooking. So,
what have you been cooking?
Something to touch on. I definitely still find that I do have like a fast food craving, and I think it's just like
failure.
It's the salt and the oil of it all. Like it's just delicious. Like I had McDonald's today, and I think the big step for me is saying, hey, don't order this. Like go and get it. And like so that's the challenge for me, that I'm trying to not order so much food just because it's convenient, but to like go and drive, because ultimately when I limit myself to that, that's when I find that I'm like the most successful, because it's like, I get home and I'm like, do I really want to get out? No, well, I guess I'll make myself something here. For me, I think my cooking really started after I moved back from college, and I was back in our parents' house for a while. and I think I just got like my manager job, which turned out to be awful. But I was like feeling like, I don't know, like real like, oh man, I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing. And so I was like, I remember I got into a juicing phase for a while where I did a lot of juicing. Because I had like extra money, and that was the first time in my life that I had like extra money to like blow and spend. And so I just buy like vegetables and stuff, and I would do like a lot of juicing. I started to do like
jars.
Yeah, started to do like vegetable roasts. I did a lot, like just put like broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, some potatoes. Throw that all in the oven, cook it for like 45 minutes with some like olive oil and salt and pepper. And that's kind of like the meal prep I would have, because then I just throw that in some containers, take that to work, and that's what I would eat. I eventually burned myself out on that because I was like, I just got tired of the taste for a while there, especially inspired by, I think, like Gordon Ramsay. And specifically, I want to give a shout out, not to like Kitchen Nightmares, but Gordon Ramsay's like his YouTube channel where he's like cooking at his like house.
Oh, it's such a nice house, dude.
And it's like, I guess that was the first time I like someone really broke it down for me and like showed me how to do something, and I was like, oh, like I can do that. Like, and that's where I built up a lot of confidence for testing things out. And my standard became not like, is this perfect, but is this edible? Like, is it edible, and can I eat this, and is it going to taste good? Like, and I stopped to worry so much, and so I started experimenting more. And then, of course, I have to give a big shout out for Binging with Babish, who I think is really good at making you feel like it's okay to like not know what you're doing, and to like actually teach you some of these basics. And like just the way he describes things and the way he like puts things together, I think is always like so good. And I've definitely like, I can make a bomb ass red sauce now because of him, like just learning the ingredients to get and just learning how to cook it, like, and just simply just that. So nowadays, I rotate through a lot of meals. We did, when COVID first hit, we did HelloFresh for a while, and that was really nice because I learned it expanded. Yeah, it expanded a lot more of my knowledge, like to do like pan sauces and combinations of different things. And that's kind of, even to this day, that's kind of how I set up my meals, where it's like you got your protein, you have your vegetable, and then you have maybe like a bread or like a side or something like that. Just for an example of something I've been doing recently that is delicious that you should definitely try. So I do a lot of potatoes. Like, I love my potatoes. I usually do the yellow, the Yukon Gold potatoes. You slice them up into some thick fry wedges. Throw them all in a bowl. Get a nice layer of olive oil, whatever spices you want. Shake them around, and then don't put them in the oven. Get a nice big skillet, maybe even like a sauce, like a big saucepan. Put it onto the stove, put a lid on there, turn it on high so it collects a lot of steam, and you can get these delicious like fries that are like really crispy, almost charred, depending on whatever you like on the outside, but still really soft on the inside, and they're not dry at all. Tried that with some homemade ranch. Oh my gosh, man. Making my own homemade burger patties, and adding different things to them. And oh man, we had like the best burgers I've had in a long time. And like we made them, and they were like giant and juicy and delicious.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, cooking at home definitely is, like, I'm still learning a lot, obviously, but like it is intimidating at first, but it's super easy to get into. And like the best thing you can do is just start with some basic like baking chicken in the oven. It's really easy. I mean, it's usually just like, oh, prep the marinade, do this, put it in there. You just leave it alone for 45 minutes. Yeah. Maybe flip it over if you want to, depending on like if it calls for it or not. But like, that's all you gotta do. So, like, I just encourage, if anyone is listening that hasn't been cooking from home, just like start with some basics, ask your parents, or just like Google. Like I do want to say it. You might not like them, but Gordon Ramsay's like at home, like it's a like 100 recipes to stake your like life on or whatever, or like even like the basics that he does. Like, it's a good place to just kind of wrap your head around it, because like you don't have to be good, you just gotta try. So
what would you say is probably the biggest roadblock into starting to like cook at home that you've run into, and that's something that once you got over that roadblock, you were like, oh, this is so much easier now?
honestly thinking it was going to be expensive to
like
do
food
a lot
wise
of like food wise.
Okay.
Like, oh, like I gotta get chicken and I gotta get oil and I gotta get the spices, and like the way you gotta look at it is like, I think once you kind of start prepping meals more,
right,
or like you have an idea of what you're gonna make, then you kind of go to the store and you do that one big trip where you purchase the spices and the oils, but like you don't have to buy spices and oils for a good amount of time, and so then you're just buying your veggies, your meats, or whatever, you know. So it's like,
yeah,
you're not gonna spend that much money, just that upfront cost to get the essentials, maybe some cooking, like if you need like an extra skillet, a cast iron skillet, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that might be a roadblock, but other than that, you know, just you're not going to make it perfectly
right
each time, but you're going to make edible food. It's kind of it is hard to mess up food.
Yeah, you know? I definitely think that's a really good takeaway, is that, you know, coming from somebody, and I would by no means, and I don't think you would call yourself either, like a, you know, somebody who makes delicious meals, like, you know,
I mean,
you know,
no,
we make
I
good home cooking, and I think, you know, yeah, it is hard to mess up, because it's like, ultimately, if you're cooking for yourself or you're cooking for your partner, like, it's not like you're not gonna like mess it up that much, and the challenge then becomes finding different things to make. I would say, excuse me, the biggest hurdle, I think, is having the proper tools. I think once you have, you know, a set of pots and pans, and skillets, you know, having just the right tools, good cutting boards, good mixing bowls, that I think is the biggest hurdle. Because once you get over that, like that, then you have, you know, all your options are open to you. And like you said, yeah, like, you know, you buy the, you know, the thing of olive oil and you're like, God, this is kind of expensive. But like that olive oil, that'll last you for like 2-3 weeks, you know, depending on how much you use it. I mean, I use olive oil, not daily, but probably every other day, you know, just a little bit there on the pan.
Yeah, same.
You know, I really like nice, expensive butter, because I feel like it just tastes so much better. You know, good, expensive butter will last you a while.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, like, stuff like the most you're gonna get is like, oh, it's a bit salty. You know? Okay, next time, don't add too much salt. The thing is, you're gonna find out their ingredients: salt, pepper, soy sauce, especially, just like those really, I don't know how to describe that flavor, but just those really strong flavor profiles. Like, those are flavors that you really want to follow those to a T. Don't really experiment with those too much, because you can usually add those flavors in after to kind of help enhance whatever you're eating.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so if you make a marinade for your chicken, add way too much salt, there's nothing you can do about it, rather than, or like salt, I don't know if you put salt in chicken, but like, then but if it's not salty enough when you're eating, you're like, oh, I can add some bit of salt to it, you know? You can't really take stuff out once you put it in. So,
yeah. And, you know, I think for me, it's to change gears just a little bit. I definitely know that I cook like our mom, and I'm inspired a lot by that, because when I'm adding stuff or making anything, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And I'll just throw it in there. Like, I don't even measure it out. Like, I don't do a lot of baking, and I know with baking you have to be more precise, which is why I don't like it, which is not really fair. But, you know, I'm like, oh, a little bit more of this. Oh, a little bit more of that. Oh, we probably could add an onion to that. Yeah, you know, sure, why not? Like, I'm just like doing that and kind of, you know, doing it until it feels right, and like cooking something until it feels right. Like that, I think for me is something I've learned to instead of being so obsessed with like what temperature you're going to set the oven at, or especially maybe not set the oven, but like when you're cooking on the stove top, like it's all about like the amount of heat I want, and like the sound that it's going to be making, and, you know, and then the smell of it. And like, that's really how I determine when things are done, when things are ready, like what I want to add more of. And then I think definitely inspired by, you know, people like Babish, and, you know, just seeing like other cooks, like I'm tasting things all the time. Like I pull out a spice and I'm like, oh, I don't know how much of this I really want to add. And I'll like literally put my finger in there, taste some of the spice, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, no, I like that. You know,
a lot of smelling, a lot of tasting.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. It's one of those things where, like, I'm asking my mom a lot of time, like, hey, like, what's this, or what do you recommend on this? Do you have ideas? And I want to get more recipes because like she has a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's so definitely that kind of comes out sometimes where I'm like, oh, like this is good. I'm like, I kind of feel like mom right now,
Right.
This is a baked chicken. She'd be proud of this. Got some broccoli. She'd be proud of that.
Yeah.
Some rice too. Like,
yeah, no, it all goes back to
good.
that. Yeah.
And like definitely like, again, I'm gonna bring up Gordon Ramsay one more time. It's kind of a funny thing. Like whenever he's like, oh God, beautiful. Oh, it's so good. Doing that. Yeah. No joke. Like I have to stop myself from doing that when I'm like, oh, the chicken is super good. Like, oh my gosh, like Jack, you outdid yourself this time.
Yeah.
I'm like it's nothing even amazing. It's just some homemade chicken.
Yeah, being proud of yourself for what you've done. Yeah.
You're like, do you smell that? I made that. Like,
right.
So it's cool. I think cooking is definitely once you get into it, it's a very, like, I don't know. I think for me, it's a Zen thing. Like when you get into like the moment of what you're doing,
definitely,
it's so much fun. So you got music going, something playing. It's this podcast. But yeah, I mean,
Raconteur collection.
That's cooking.
Jack and Charlie.
The Raconteur collection.
Bi-weekly. No, I definitely agree. I think all of those are really good points. There's so many other things I could talk about, but we're getting close up to our hour here. So I feel like I had something else to say, but I don't actually remember now. I got distracted by saying bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
So going into ending thoughts, I actually think we touched on a lot of really good things and a lot of really good, kind of tracing that lineage of watching our parents cook and then kind of it sounds cheesy to say, but kind of like living up to that legacy of like what your parents cook for you. Like we were lucky enough to have our parents that did cook for us. Like not everybody has that. And so I guess in some ways, when I am cooking, it's, I think, a really nice way to like kind of mentally like reconnect with the past and, things before things got too complicated, before things got all crazy, it's like, oh no, I'll usually turn on my audiobook, I'll have something cooking. I'll start the dishes, and it's just become this nice routine.
Yeah. And it's one of those things at the same time that is relaxing, that it's fun to do. Is especially if you had parents that did make breakfast for you or lunch or dinner for you every day or almost every day, you don't realize how hard that is.
Right.
It's like to do every day for almost every meal.
I've got such a new appreciation for that.
Yeah, it takes a lot. Like when I make a big breakfast, I'm like, they used to do this like every day.
And like on a schedule,
are you kidding me?
Like we had to like go to school. Like they were doing it like on a time frame. Like that's insane.
Wake up at 9, wake up at 8, wake up at 10.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of appreciation there.
I totally remember what I was wanting to say, and it's very important. My thing is I don't,
buy our merch.
I don't pull the Gordon Ramsay, but it's something I do now that I'm sure my girlfriend loves and always laughs at, but I always will go, I'll pull something out of the pot and I'll go, or out of the oven and I'll go, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah. We made some delicious spaghetti a couple days ago, and I pulled it off after I let it simmer for a while, and I was like, oh yeah. By the way, we did.
Is that from Emperor's New Groove?
I think it is from Emperor's New Groove.
Kronk goes, oh yeah, it's all coming together.
By the way, I cooked spaghetti, and I did it with, instead of just doing like spaghetti noodles, we did shell noodles instead. And I gotta say, I'm coming around to doing spaghetti with shell noodles. I know, some traditional people are probably like screaming at me. They're like, you have no idea what you're doing, you monster. But oh my gosh, it was really good.
Just everything of the Day of Reckoning. Did you see that Papa John post where he was like, I ate 40 pizzas in 30 days and this guy doesn't know how to make pizzas. And he was like, just
no.
The time will come. A day of reckoning is upon us.
A day of reckoning is upon us.
You want to kind of talk about what the Day of Reckoning is? The time will come, and that's where it ends, and you're like, what? What? Holy, you ate 40 pizzas in 30 days?
Jack, do you have any ending thoughts or last things you want to add?
Man, I think I'm good. I think I'm donezo.
Gotcha. Well, everyone, friends, family, new listeners, old listeners, people coming back after the war, losers, winners, chefs.
Don't say people coming back after the war, then followed by losers. Don't say that.
No, you're the one who said losers. Cut it out. Cut it. Everyone, thank you so much. Oh my God. You interrupted me. Sorry, go ahead and say whatever you want to say, and then I'll close this out.
I'm just saying, we're working on it, guys. We're working on talking over each other, but we appreciate you guys listening. Always, your feedback is very much appreciated. Thank you for taking this hour out of your day to listen. It means a lot. Hopefully it got you through whatever you were doing, and hopefully you were listening. You especially. You know who you are.
All right, you might go ahead and round us out here.
What does round us out mean?
Well, it means this. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to the first episode of the Raconteur collection from Charlie and Jack. We hope you all have a great night, a great drive, a great morning, and most of all, a good life. Stay beautiful.
Goodbye.
Bye.